Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to What You Gotta Say. As always, I'm Vincent Squire. Now, this is Freestyle Friday, and we've got some of the guests that were with us last week, and we've got a new guest. But I'm going to introduce all of my wonderful panel, and we're going to talk about some topics this week that have been getting on everybody's mind and have been streaming like crazy all over the social media platforms. And we're going to take care of that in just 2 minutes, 2 seconds. And welcome back to our show. I have been excited with my panel and guests for a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Now, you know, it's Friday and it's Freestyle Friday, and we get into the things that we don't do on my regular serious show to lighten things up and with a great deal of levity. So let me introduce to you my panel. I'm going to dub them the He-Man women haters because there are no women here today. But hailing from New Jersey, he is the host of the Welcome Home Show on WIBG Radio in Ocean City. Say hello to our friend to the show, also the star on this channel, Thursdays with Joe Griffies, none other than Joe Griffies. Hey, Joe.
Hello, Vince. Hello, Father. Hello.
How are you? Okay, now, incredibly enough, Joe brought a friend with him. He is a retired United States Air Force chaplain. Say hello to none other than, oh, by the way, he's an excellent host of his own show. So say hello to Father Jim.
On WIBG, Ocean City, New Jersey, and Welcome Home Veterans. He paid me $5 to say that.
You got paid? Joe, look.
Oh, Joe, I wasn't supposed to say that.
Hey, he owes me $3. I gave him a $5 bill.
Oh, he never gave you change. Okay. And new to the show, guest to the show, great guy. I cannot say enough. The man has been cracking me up every time I talk to him. He is all right, but he comes from comedy royalty. Say hello to none other than Sandy Hackett.
Well, thank you very much, Vincent. And you started this introduction off by saying women haters. What did you call us? None of us.
The He-Man Women Haters Club? Yeah.
I mean,
that's what my wife's. No, well, my wife watches the show regularly so that I don't talk about her, but I'm talking about her. And she always comments when I have shows that do not have the diversification of a woman. So she calls us the He-Man Woman Haters Club.
Whoa.
Okay, what is your wife's name?
Philippa. No,
Philippa?
call her Phil. Her name's Philippa, but please call her Phil.
Is that what she likes to be called?
That's what she loves to be called.
Phil. Hi, Phil. And that's amazing because my grandfather's name was Phil. So, hi, Phil. Very nice to meet you. I am not a woman hater. We're here with two clergy, a Jew and the other type. And we don't hate women.
Hey, listen, I'm
and
on
I'm going to
lightning
speak
bolts.
for them because they're the ones that put matrimonies together. And it's not until that happens that the man's life becomes fruitful and multiply and create a family. And so there's no hating going on here, Phil. So I don't know what Vince is talking about, but I love women. I have a wife, I have a daughter, I have a boyfriend. I love everybody.
Well, they also invented alimony. Okay, so let's dive into the hot topics. Sunday, all over the media right now is the Oscars. The Oscars are there. It's Oscar season, the Oscar buzz, and everybody is happy about the Oscars, including Spike Lee. Go figure that. So, what do you guys take on who's going to walk away with Best Picture?
You guys can have this one. I could care less. I don't care who wins. I don't care that it's on. I don't care that this year that now they finally got hosts after they went with no hosts. There's no COVID. So, and I think maybe we've gone back to masks too soon. So, it'll be great to see Hollywood giving each other COVID. One person will show up. Some putz will show up with COVID and give it to 6,500 people. So there you go.
I'll add on to Sandy. I could share a fast story of a guest we have on our radio show tomorrow, whose grandfather was George Patton. And George C. Scott, that portrayed George Patton, I believe, I could be corrected, did not like how the Native American Indians were being treated in the country. And he refused to this day. They offered to him every year to receive the Academy Award for the story Patton. And he never showed up. He wouldn't accept it because I believe it was the African American tribes in our country were not being treated fair. So he boycotted to this day. But the real George Patton, the grandfather, his grandson, will be on our show tomorrow. And that's about the only thing I know about the Oscars. Never invited.
Well, let's look at another person who has protested and boycotted the Oscars, Spike Lee. He's been protesting and boycotting the Oscars, and at least, Patton's group, at least they were invited. Spike was never invited, never nominated, didn't have a seat, and couldn't buy a ticket.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, great director.
Well, let me tell you something. If he can get a front row seat to all the Knicks and Lakers games, he should be able to get a seat at the Oscars.
He actually has to do a body of work. Go ahead. See, the problem with Spike Lee is that he actually has to do a body of work that's Academy Award liked.
And he should have bought the academies and then fired everybody, invited all his friends.
I think he still owes Bill Cosby money for producing X. But so the Oscars right now, the big one of the front runners and everybody is hoping for is Will Smith portraying the father of Venus and Serena Williams. So good luck to everybody in the Oscars. I know I hate it. I'm glad it comes on after football season. And I know I'm going to be watching it because my wife lives for those things.
And I do like Will Smith. I'm a Will Smith fan. I watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and all the movies that he's on. And he's from Philadelphia. He's West Philadelphia.
Yes. In fact, everybody's from Philadelphia except for Sandy Hackett and our producer, Chaz.
Well, that's 40% of us, Vince.
There you go. Okay, next on the list. Has anybody been watching the confirmations of Judge Ketanji Jackson?
Yes, I have. And I don't know what you want me to say about it, except the Republicans are deplorable the way they've gone after her. This woman has impeccable credentials. She is bright. She is articulate. She was confirmed by the same people that want to put her down, confirmed her for the DC bench a year ago. So I don't know what all this hoopla is. They're bigots and racists and assholes. And, Ted Cruz should have been they never should have found a plane to get him out of Montana. They should have left him there. And the other pinheads are just ridiculous. Matthew Cawthorn, who's not part of this, but where's the guy, the other guy, I can't even remember his name. He's such a putz who was so concerned about
Which one, Grant? Lindsay?
Lindsay's terrible, but the other guy, the thin one, talking about child pornography, when that's probably all that's on his computer, and that's why he knows so much about it. And they go, yeah, I mean, look, all these guys, these senators, they all voted against the bill to help all of America, the Build Back Better. And then what did they do? They went home and told everybody, aren't you glad we got you that money? And you just want to go, you fucking assholes.
Oh, wait,
apologies.
Sandy, no, don't apologize for the language. Apologize for the fact that they voted on the Build Back Better plan that gives trillions of dollars to billionaires. But the common man, no.
Well, I'm not sure about that, but what I wasn't apologizing for the language. I was apologizing for the language in front of the clergy because, they've probably never heard language like that, and I've shocked them.
Are you kidding? Have you ever been into the teacher's lounge of Catholic schools?
Actually, Vincent, I was kidding. To add on what Sandy said, their complaint with the judge is she goes to the bottom of the guidelines. You have a top of the guidelines of sentencing and a bottom of the guidelines. I wish I had been there to interrupt the judge and say, yo, you morons made the guidelines. Why did you make the guidelines so low?
She told them that. She said, I'm only working with the guidelines that you set up.
She said these guidelines, but they didn't like the part of the guidelines that she was in. Why did they put it there?
Because the hunt is never fun when the rabbit got the gun. That's why.
Listen, and I think if you want to look at a good waste of taxpayers' money, what we're paying these people to do, we got a war going on. We have 5 million displaced human beings, of which half are 2 million to 2.5 million are children. And I say all the time, the only place an 8 or 9 year old child carrying a suitcase in their hand should be going is to Disneyland, not another country. And imagine traveling to Disneyland and not having a hotel booked, or going to California, not having a hotel booked. They are traveling with their life belongings, looking over their shoulder at their homes, their schools, their playgrounds, their little league baseball fields, all blown up, hoping they're going on a bus or train or a boat and go to a country that they don't know anyone or know where they're going to live, know where they're going to eat. I think that's it. And listen, closing Starbucks and McDonald's is not a way you stop Putin.
Well, I think that United States should have did something much stronger than docking Putin's allowance, because that's all they actually did. You think he's worried about going to McDonald's or Starbucks right now?
No, wait a second. You guys seem to have this all wrong. It's not about just punishing Putin, but it's about upsetting the 140 million Russians to get them into a position where they go, well, what do you mean we don't have McDonald's anymore? What do you mean we don't have Starbucks? What do you mean we don't have all these Western things we've gotten used to? And then to have them rise up and take out their own leader, and maybe by the grace of God, Rabbi and other guy, chaplain, that they would take over their country and then become a democratic nation. It seems far-fetched, but different other things have happened. But we've attacked them in every way we can economically. And although it may not be a perfect situation for the clergy and for you, Vincent, you know, do we want to send our young men and women over there to fight this war? I have a 21-year-old son. I don't want him to go and fight. I'm happy that we take away their luxuries. And it's not the Russian people. It wasn't them. But if they suffer enough, they will rise up and come after their leader and tell him what you've done is betray us. And this thing where you said, oh, it's just a little military action. No, it's a war. You went and went after a defenseless country, not a defenseless country. You went after a country that you thought was defenseless, so you could take it over. They're kicking your ass. And how many of our family members live in Ukraine? How many Ukrainians have Russian ties and Russians have Ukrainian ties? So don't get upset. Don't pretend that taking away McDonald's and KFC and Pepsi and all these things don't mean anything. They do mean something. They're very important, but these things take time. And we don't have time, but the choice is to send our own youth. And I'm not sending my son or my daughter in this case. And if our gas costs a little more, that's what it is.
But the Russians are losing the battle on the ground. The only thing that they have are airstrikes and missiles. And they're bombing so willy-nilly. I mean, they hit a place where they had children written right there on the ground. You could see it from a satellite. They're bombing. They bombed a Holocaust site. They bombed, pretty much destroying a church. They're bombing everything, and he just does not care.
Who doesn't care?
Putin.
What do you mean? Of course he cares. He cares so much that's how he wants to win the war, by eviscerating and leveling a city and all the people in it. He doesn't care about humans, about human life, about a country that existed that was beautiful before this.
Oh, but here's the big joke of it. His invasion was based on the principle of saving the Jews in Ukraine from the Nazi regime.
No, I'm sorry, his invasion was not based on that. That's the lie he told everybody. But he didn't believe that for a second. That was just his excuse to tell the world and his own people that we're going to go in there and denazify it. But he wanted that for himself. He thinks that's a little token he can slide into his vest pocket and go, oh, I got Ukraine, I got it back. But nothing Putin said was trustworthy or real or anything like that. And he doesn't believe he was denazifying. He knows exactly what he was doing. He wanted more land. He wanted more resources. He wanted to take over a country that had separated from the Soviet Union years ago and wanted it back and wanted to make everybody think he'd be a hero in doing it. And that's not the way it's working out for him at all.
Well, Vince, being a Vietnam veteran, I learned one thing. Dropping bombs on a country, dropping bombs on Russia does not win a war. There's only one way the Ukrainians are going to win a war. And I've been to Vietnam. Father's been to the Gulf War. It's with, and I'm not supporting sending troops into this Russian and Ukraine war. I'm not for killing any more 18, 19, 20-year-old, now not only men, but women. But you can't win a ground war, a civil war, and that's what Russia is. It's a civil war by airplanes. You got to win it on the ground. And the Ukrainians are showing that with their ground forces that are doing it. We dropped more bombs in Vietnam on Hanoi than we dropped in World War II. And we left Vietnam with our head in between our tails.
Oh, we also dropped more bombs.
The Ukrainian war with the support that the Ukrainians need, because they're showing us they're fighting hand-to-hand combat in the streets. They arm their women, they arm their men, they're guarding their shops, they're guarding their homes, their churches. They got handmade rifles and handmade weapons. That's what we did when we beat the British in the Revolutionary War. You dropping all the planes, giving them all the jets is not going to win this war. It's NATO should have ground troops in there supporting. We got 90,000 along the coast from Romania, Ukraine. I talked to a guy last night, former Navy SEAL, that's over there in Poland.
Yeah.
Europe wants to go to a war in Ukraine over troops going to Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and we still don't know what the hell we went there for. Now we have a reason to go to a war in Ukraine over the slaughtering of people, but we're not going to go there on account of the past mistakes we made. But in the meantime, we have men, women, and children being slaughtered by a criminal.
And on that note, we're going to take a break. And I'm going to make this a short break because there are a lot of opinions and there's some great guys here. And I know you want to hear from them all. So we're going to be back in just 1 minute. I'm Vincent Squire. I'm with Joe Griffies, Father Jim, and just adding on to the group, Rabbi Seth Frisch, and of course the great Sandy Hackett. We'll be right back in 1 minute. Okay, welcome back. Now, in the news today, Lisa Bonet is the inspiration of another He-Man Woman Haters Club. It's the X's, which consists of her ex-husband, Lenny Kravitz. You remember Lisa Bonet, you know, the sweet little innocent, cute girl who was on the Cosby show, and then, you know, ruined her entire career for about 8 years by doing the movie Angel Heart. Well, yes. Go ahead, Father.
No, I say Mickey Rourke, great actor and a good movie. And Spike Lee is excellent, a fine director. He should be respected. And by the way, to Sandy, this is the other guy. I'd like to share with all you fellas that I'm a former broadcaster. I worked many major markets, and I'm from Philadelphia. I ran the Whitby Chops back in the 60s. Songwriter, music publisher. I got my webpage up started 2 days ago. I don't know how to spell webpage. I'm part Jewish, by the way. My name's Drucker. You should pick up on that, Sandy. Anyway, it's great being with all of you. Joe Griffies is a wonderful man. He's a blessing. And through him, I'm joining all of you. I want to let you all know and to share with you that I also have had since 1965 a radio telephone first class FCC license, which at one time was the epitome of working AM radio. Regarding Ukrainians, my background is not Ukrainian, but I'm a Catholic priest, the other guy, Catholic priest of the Byzantine Eastern Rite. Our group is Ruthenian. Now, it's from the era of Constantinople, the 300s, the Eastern Church, and so forth. The Ukrainians came back under them. There was a split in 1054. The Ukrainians came back under the Council of Uzhhorod, the 1500s, and then our group from Czechoslovakia, 1600s. So we have reciprocal faculty. So if I'm at a church in Philadelphia and it's Ukrainian, I may celebrate Mass there, and vice versa. Technically, I'm not supposed to celebrate Mass at a Roman Catholic Church. However, because I have by ritual faculties, I can do that as well. So speaking on behalf of the Ukrainians, most people may not know, while there is a Jewish prime minister, president, wonderful man, God bless him and may be watched over, that majority of Ukrainians are Ukrainian Catholic or Orthodox. And there is the headquarters on the East Coast is out of Philadelphia, 8th and Franklin, the beautiful Immaculate Conception Cathedral where John Paul was. I met him one time years ago. So anyway, the Ukrainians are wonderful people. They're suffering unbelievably. We're sitting back. I'm a Persian Gulf Desert Storm captain chaplain. I was in southern Turkey, then in Iraq. They're suffering a lot. We don't know what to do. We as Christians, as Jews, or whatever faith, look in bewilderment. The fright and of course the fear is this ultimate weapon of the nuclear weapon. So we have to trespass slowly, and certainly prayers of whatever faith is what we need to be doing minimally, and praying and asking blessings for these people who are being slaughtered by a maniac and a monster. And from the streets of Philadelphia, K&A, where we were tough, he's just a thug.
Well,
May I ask a question to the father? If you don't.
go ahead, Rabbi.
Rabbi,
So,
God bless you. Shalom Aleichem.
Aleichem shalom. Or as we say to our Islamic brothers, peace be unto you. But here we go. You know, I was thinking, if someone had a chance to assassinate Adolf Hitler in his youthful days before he became whatever he was, I think most people nowadays would say, yeah, I think that was a good idea. And yet, you know, you can't really judge someone before, but here we are now with someone who I consider certainly qualifies for, I mean, my training is as a rabbi. He qualifies for the sector of evil.
Amen.
Would this be something that rather than committing the troops that Mr. Griffies is worried about, and Mr. Hackett is concerned about, would it be something that, since we have good intelligence services that our past president was not very fond of, because he was always siding with the Russians, maybe this is something that would be sufficiently extrajudicial in nature and perhaps sufficiently ethical to do, rather than allow an entire people of orthodoxy or Catholicism or Jewish or whatever to be wiped from the face of this earth, as is the plan. And if you doubt me, think Syria. If you doubt that, think Chechnya. If you doubt that, think Auschwitz. Because we're talking about biological, we're talking about chemical, and we all know that other weapons are on the table too. So
Okay.
maybe that's an ethical consideration that a priest and a rabbi and a Jew and a radio and a television, maybe we should talk about that.
Rabbi, let me ask you this, and I hope look, I'm far from the smartest person on this group, probably the dumbest. So I hope this don't sound stupid.
Well, Mr. Griffies,
But
I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer either. I just am who I am.
And everybody's blaming public education for it.
But
That's it.
my question is, are you saying that maybe someone should step forward for the good of mankind and assassinate Putin? Because I agree. My argument is that morally right to do or wrong? Is that any different than taking an average 17 or 18-year-old high school grad, sending him to Vietnam, putting a gun in his hand, and after 12 years of and I'll say my Catholic education, being taught, don't steal, don't rob, don't harm your neighbor, love your neighbor, don't bear arms. Now all of a sudden, because a politician in Washington says we can give Joe Griffies and all his buddies that are 17 and 18-year-old to go to Vietnam and kill people they don't know. Why is it all right for us to go to Vietnam and kill people we don't know that did positively nothing wrong to us, and yet it would be morally wrong to go kill Putin? Maybe
Judge Griffies, listen, Your Honor, listen, Judge Griffies. You and I are sitting at Nuremberg right now after the fact. 20 million Russians are dead, 6 million Jews plus, countless American lives. World War II has ended and the world is destroyed. And could we have stepped in earlier? Would it have been morally repugnant or morally right to
100% we
step
should.
in and end that man's life, who I hesitate to use his name. It should be erased for what he did to the world and to my people.
Let me.
What's morally more right? You tell me.
Rabbi, let me ask this question. Does the end justify the means?
Yes. In
Hell
my
yes.
eyes, take.
And notice I
Stop
use the
the
word
guy.
hell before I say yes.
How many Jewish people had to be killed before we realized Hitler was a bad guy? And he was one guy.
How many people?
How many
We're
people?
all equal in the eyes of God, if you believe it.
Well,
But how
look
many
at
people had to
Soldier that
die?
died. With
How
all-
many people
all
had to
the-
die because of a moral consideration? Father, I saw you shake your head. How many people have to die viciously before it becomes a moral decision about one man who perpetrated that war?
If
Now,
it
wait a
was-
minute. This one man started his system of casting based upon race and hierarchy, and it came from, he studied and got it from the United States.
Father, I know you can
You know,
correct me,
dehumanization
but would
happens
we have
somewhere.
dropped the atomic bomb if it wasn't for Hitler?
No,
It never would have come about. It
No.
never would have come about.
Nor would we have had the stealth and the Kevlar armor and helmets.
But you know, Vince, you're evading the question by pivoting to other things. Things start somewhere. There's a track. We could have stopped that track and we could have saved countless lives. And when the priest shakes his head, I'm sorry, Father, I don't know you, and I don't want to, this is not an attack, but it's upsetting to me that we can't figure out in the world post-Nuremberg, post-Auschwitz, we can't figure out at what point we as human beings, we do it in legal systems all the time, in courts all over the world, some better, some worse. We make judgments. Why can't we make a judgment and save 100 million lives? Why can't we do that?
Because when we make that judgment, the world looks at America and say, deal with your own hypocrisy. Deal with your own hypocrisy when we've got redlining for people of color. Deal with no, it's not pivoting. It's
No, you
the
are.
truth.
You're morally pivoting because you tell me someone living in Kiev right now who's got bombs raining down on children in churches seeking shelter. They're crouching together. They're being suffocated and firebombed. And you tell them, oh, this is all because you can't get your act together in America. I'm telling you, get your act together.
It has the same.
Rabbi and Father
It has-
and Sandy, why was it okay to hunt down Saddam Hussein and the politician said it's all right to try him and kill him? Why wasn't it all right for society to say this guy's as a mass murderer and we should eliminate him? Why did we wait until he did so much damage?
We did the same thing for not Hussein alone, but Gaddafi.
I don't know the answer to that, but I know that we have to, just like we set up courts of law, just like we set up courts of law all over the world and here in America, Vince, whether good or bad, moral or immoral, we set up courts of law, we make judgments. This would be a case right now to confront Putin. His name should be erased because of what he's in the process of doing and what he has the ability to do.
Okay, and let me answer that for you. Okay, with being very direct of why we're not sending in troops. It's simple. It's found in the golden rule. He who has the goal makes the rules. And
I don't want to send in troops.
Wait, whoa, let me finish. There is no financial interest in Ukraine that America has that would make them want to send in troops. Now, there was a financial interest in Kuwait because they definitely put my behind in an airplane and threw me off it. Okay, there was a financial interest when we did Gulf War II because we wanted to control the oil. In fact, most of America said, yeah, go ahead, because I need my gas to be cheap. There was a financial interest when we were going against Pearl Harbor and Vietnam. But there is no financial interest in Ukraine. That's why these politicians are going, we don't want to start World War III. You think they're scared of Putin and his nukes? Heck no!
You know,
there's no money in it.
Everything you've just said to me, everything doesn't equal the moral considerations that I'm asking you to make. Nothing you've said to me. You've pivoted into the world of Marxian economics. I don't care. I don't care.
That's the whole.
I care about
people compromise. People compromise.
I care about the poison flowing through the brain of one man who in his world, he believes that he has the right to torture and suffocate, starve and deprive an entire people. Have we learned nothing about throwing a switch, sitting at some kind of mechanism and assassinating the presence of evil on earth? And
don't get me wrong.
Contract
don't get me wrong, Rabbi, because I'm a firm believer in this fact. If you want to get Putin, put a $25 million bounty on his head, and somebody will do it. But
let's do it. Let's do
it. The big thing. Financially,
why are we playing around with? Why are we playing around with all these gadgets and all these things? Do it. Why not?
Because financially, America businesses do not have a stake in saving Ukraine. That's why. Financially, and the same thing that happened. Let's go even further back. Financially, there was a huge interest in continuing on with slavery. And it caused the Civil War.
Vince, the evidence does not support your supposition.
Rabbi.
Wait,
Rabbi.
Evidence does not support your supposition. If there was no financial interest, we wouldn't be doing the hopscotch that we're doing right now. If there was no financial interest. So I'm just telling you.
We're not doing hopscotch. We're playing. We're trying to come right between the line. We're walking in a little tight line, okay? Because we don't want to bring it into war.
So I am suggesting, as John Q. Citizen, that it is time that we make moral and ethical decisions about I don't care about your economics. I don't care. I really don't care. It's time that we make moral and ethical decisions about who gets to stay and who must go.
And
it's time that we make moral decisions
Rabbi,
about the lives
is the value of life.
Yes, the value of life.
And the value of oil or gems. Father and Sandy, how do you guys feel about this?
Yes, please.
Well, okay, first of all, Father, I just want to tell you, I now see, and it's Father Jim, and I apologize. I wasn't meaning to.
Oh, no apology necessary at all.
But I wasn't meaning to be disrespectful because I thought Joe. Wait,
you were not.
I'm not. I thought Joe was the rabbi until the rabbi showed up, and I look at this. I said a 2-for-1. Anyway,
he's got the beard.
And I had a joke. This is terrible because we're on a very tense subject here. And Rabbi, I appreciate everything you said and what you're saying. And honestly, Russia is a huge country. And if I thought we could get a plane in there and find Putin and take him out, I'd go absolutely. But the cost of doing that, that's a guy that's got his hand on the nuke. And he might set one off. But let me go back to Father Jim for a second, because you said you're part Jewish. You said your real name is Drucker. So your mother was a Mother Drucker.
My mother,
that would be the father.
Drucker. She was from her heritage was Czechoslovakia, as I said earlier. But I meant, by the way, I just gave you back a one-liner, man. I'm from Philadelphia, from Kensington. I tell everybody.
Listen, when your mother's relatives left Czechoslovakia, you know what the Czechs said?
What?
There goes one canceled check.
Okay.
But and on that note,
2,000 comedians out of work, and here's 2 more.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break. Okay. I'm Vincent Squire. I'm with Joe Griffies, Joe Griffies, Father Jim, and Rabbi Seth Frisch, and of course, the great Sandy Hackett. We'll be right back in just 1 minute. Thank you and welcome back. Now, I'm going to read a comment I got that somebody is watching this live. No, we don't go into Russia because of the lives. We don't have a problem with spending our lives in any war that or invasion that we have done and justified it. Our biggest problem that we don't go and support Ukraine with our troops on the ground is that American businesses do not have huge stakes in it. Okay, well, thank you for that comment. Sandy, take it away.
I don't believe a word of that. Ukraine provides 20% of the wheat of the world. They're a community that creates all kinds of other wonderful things. They've got technology. We had labs over there working on the biological, not warfare as the Republicans would put out there, but just disease and stuff like that. They're a bright, educated, articulate people. And this isn't about that. This is about Putin wanting what he wanted and us trying to find a way to help the Ukrainians keep him from getting what he wanted without starting a world war. Because for the first time, we've had a guy say to the world, hey, I've got nukes if I need them. No one's ever said that before. Everybody said, I got nukes, but let's pull away from the nuke discussion. So one nuke, then the next thing, and as soon as the person fires the first nuke, whoever it is, everybody else is going to start firing nukes. And as fast as we're disintegrating our planet with the weather getting warmer and stuff like that, the nukes will wipe out the planet and we'll have 10% of the population here, and it'll be nothing but carnage. Is that what we want? So we've got to deal with this situation, and we've got to have cooler heads. And let's go back, even when you said go back, Rabbi, you're right, but let's go back to Trump trying to hold up Ukraine and not get them the aid package that they asked for and needed because he wanted a personal favor so he could stay in office. And if he had been a real president instead of the low-life piece of shit dickhead he is, then we would have had a situation.
Randy, be careful. You're on the air. There's people listening to this. I don't care who you are. This is wrong. And by the way, I stand for God. When I was in the military, I couldn't.
Well, what's wrong? Wait. What's wrong, Jim?
Because and it's not Jim. It's Father Jim to you, sir.
Okay, Father Jim.
It's wrong.
But what's wrong?
Your language. You're God. Don't be so emotional. It's an emotional issue, but we got to remember, first of all, I'm here to represent God, and I hope the rabbi is well. When I was in the military, we could not carry weapons. It was forbidden by the Geneva Convention because we stood for Joseph Griffies in Vietnam or in the Desert Storm as a ministry of presence. And I cannot my emotions say, kill this son of a gun. Get rid of him because it's wrong. And with you, Rabbi, I agree as well. But it's wrong. We're supposed to be men of God, representing God, because we're thinking now with our emotions. We should be thinking with our spirit, with our heart, which is something in the future. It's not just this moment.
Father, I respectfully disagree with you. We've got a country called Israel where the rabbis are walking around with guns when they needed them, when all the countries wanted to come and wipe us off the face of the earth, and we did what we had to do. Everybody had a weapon. Everybody has to serve in Israel.
You have a right to defend yourself.
Also, when they rebuilt the temple, they had a trowel in one hand and a knife in the other. So, I mean, and we've had so many wars based upon religion, but I mean, in this situation, and I understand the desperateness because we are losing and we see the carnage. We see dead children. We see, I've seen a couple of days ago, a bomb hit and a woman and her children just went splattered in the street and they were all dead. We see that, and yet we are, because he has nukes, he has punked the entire world.
Vince,
yes.
How much information do we need to compile to take out someone? Bill Clinton had a chance to take out Saddam Hussein.
He had a chance to take out bin Laden too.
Take out bin Laden. He missed that opportunity. They had enough to know that he was evil. Would we have taken him out if we had a blueprint saying that he was going to blow up 2 World Trade Center building, the Pentagon, and a plane crash in Somerset County? What information do we need to know before a person gets too evil and too violent that he's not good enough for society. We will put someone in the electric chair for going into a grocery store and shooting a 70-year-old man behind the counter. He goes to trial, he's going to get electrocuted. Why can't we have this a court of common sense that says, hey, this guy is mounting evil?
Mr. Griffies, I want to say one thing to you and really to everyone here, and I respect the father, obviously, but I want to say this to you, Father. You know, I look back to the first Jew in history, Abraham, our father, and when he was told that his nephew was taken hostage in the Torah, in the Bible, it's the same Bible that you have, all right? He was told, your nephew was taken hostage, and he assembled his troops and he went after him. And we learned from that. And I'm going to take it all the way through history. My people, whenever we have chosen not to either
fight
or to fight, we have died. And that in the 20th century, we've learned enough. We've had enough. And I'm going to tell you something very famous from someone from your particular sect of God. There was a very famous chaplain when confronted with the same thing you just said about should you be a man of God and not lift up a rifle? And you're talking to a rabbi who did lift a rifle and did serve. He said, it is my duty, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition, because we're at a point in history, sir, when we cannot stand on a soapbox or behind an altar and say, you know what? We can't because we're men of God. We're holy. We're not men of God. We're not holy. We are the children of the living God. And the living God demands, just like Father Abraham.
Hold on. Rabbi.
I was a captain in the Air Force in Desert Storm, sir.
Okay. Then I rest my case. My job is done.
Can I ask a question here? Because Father Jim, I didn't understand what you were upset about because I attacked Trump. Are you a Trump supporter?
I think Father Jim was more about the passion of the language.
Wait, I can't hear him.
Is this a political venue here? Because I've been keeping my mouth shut purposely because I don't want to offend, and yet I have every right to speak my feelings.
Absolutely, you have every right to speak, but you seemed offended. You said you were offended by my language, but my language was directed at Trump, because when Trump tried to do something personal to enhance his possibilities and didn't give Ukraine the money and the arms deals that they needed, that's my point.
Well, Sandy, let me take that one further. Not only did he stall what Congress has already earmarked and should have been delivered to Ukraine during, and by the way, saying Trump on this show is a bad word, but not only did he stall that to get a personal favor against Biden's son, he also defunded NATO.
Well,
so you can't tell me there was not some premeditation involved.
Sandy, I'm not upset about anything. I'm talking, this is airwaves. And airwaves are the public's. It belongs to the public, not us. So language is important, nothing more, nothing less. I can give an opinion, but on the other element, period, done, finished.
Well,
okay.
I would just say that, Father, I share some of your sentiments, not all of them. I'm an admirer of people who use the right language at the right time. And if it's salty, Sandy and Father, it's salty. And, Lenny Bruce, who might have offended a lot of people and was arrested for it many, many times, I don't think American history would have advanced without people like Lenny, or even Buddy, your father, Sandy.
Or Richard Pryor, or Richard Pryor or Eddie Murphy.
Right.
Or any of the
black people in there too? Why, you're trying to crowd out the Jews on this one? You got to throw a black man in there just to look equal? Come on.
Oh no, I'm not saying that it's I'm not saying it's a black thing, but what I'm saying is that the door opens for everyone with everything. But we're going to take a 1-minute break, and I'm going to let everybody get a closing remark, and you can all see, they will give you some contact information, how to reach out, how to see their shows, especially Sandy, because I really want to know where you're appearing next. So And, the rest of us unemployed comedians, we're going to start taking notes. I'm Vincent Squire. Be right back. 1 minute. Welcome back. Now, final words, guys. Joe, you mentioned something about your show Saturday, tomorrow.
Yes. We're going to have Pat Rolls on, whose grandfather was General Patton, and we're also going to have on a colonel from Georgia who served with Norman Schwarzkopf, General Norman Schwarzkopf. He was one of his direct aides, and talks about how Norman wanted to stay there and go after Saddam Hussein instead of being stopped. And just to add on one other part, how certain
the same thing with Patton. He wanted to stay there and go after Khrushchev.
Yes, but how certain are we, based upon how his army's acting, his supplies, his broken down equipment, could Putin be overreacting with his nukes, just like Saddam Hussein did with weapons of mass destruction? A lot of these guys, Saddam Hussein, when he was tested before he was killed.
I love you, but we only got 2 minutes left, and I got a couple other guys.
But he had to let the rest of the world know he did, so they wouldn't attack him. So are we giving?
No, that's too explosive of an issue.
Okay, Rabbi, where can people find you?
On your show all the time. Sethfrisch@gmail.com, SETHFRISCH@gmail, or have them contact you, Vince. I'm available. I'm here to talk to anyone. But I do want to say this to everyone, just to my ending right here is I think it's come a time when we have to make earthly judgments about the future of humankind. And I take, Sandy, what you said very seriously about, that guy who sits at one end of a table when the French president comes in and they can't eat together, they can't talk to each other. So I know his food tester must be the most dangerous job in town, but I think we've come to a moment in time when we need to make judgments. That's all.
Father Jim.
Listen, music cuts through all things: race, creed, religion, tall, black, skinny, white, everything. I'm on the air every Saturday on OutsideFM.com. T. Morgan, who was the beginning band for classic rock throughout the country, even over PLJ in New York City, brought classic rock to WMMR. So he has a station called OutsideFM.com, and I do a Saturday morning doo-wop show, and it's wonderful. I'm enjoying it. I just started my own webpage. I'm all excited Again, music is beautiful. A B flat's a B flat here, or a B flat in Turkey. And I'm also on with Joe Griffies. He's been blessed I've been blessed to be with him to program us every third Saturday with great stars like Joey D, Charlie Gracie, Danny and the Juniors. So, and I'm hoping to continue that. May God so provide. And I love you all, and God bless you. And in Ukrainian, Slava Isusu Christu.
Slava
Well,
Bogu.
listen, with all of you musicians on Joe's show, why don't y'all ever come up with a theme song for him? Okay.
I can do that. I can do that.
Sandy, I got to say, I loved your father. I enjoy myself with you. So where are you appearing next?
I have a show, Sandy Hackett's Rat Pack Show. We'll be in Canada in October. We've got a tour there. We're going to be in Detroit in December, and I tour all the time as a comedian, mostly private events and stuff like that. But my father used to say about bad words, Father Jim, ass is not a bad word. Ass never hurt anybody. Ass is just an acronym. A period, S period, S period. Anterior, superior spine. He says 4 o'clock in the morning, a guy walks in, has a gun in his ass. It's not very threatening. He says, same guy has a gun in his hand, which is the euphemism for what's going on in Ukraine. The Russians are killing humans, men, women, children, babies, people that are infirm, people that couldn't even possibly defend themselves. That's dirty.
Evil.
That's
evil.
It's evil, Rabbi. You're correct. And that's dirty. And that's offensive, what's going on over there. And we've got to get rid of that piece of shit, Putin, however we find a way to do it. And Father Jim, you can cross yourself all you want, but it doesn't do anything to a Jew. All it does is
Right. Right.
What a comment to make.
The father is only a little bit Jewish. I'm going to give you 100% Jewish. All right. And 100% Jewish says, after Auschwitz, we don't have the luxury to claim that we're men of the cloth any longer. We don't have the luxury to say we can't do that. We don't have that luxury in the 21st century.
God bless us.
Well, God bless us all. And first of all, thank you, and God bless you all for being on this show. Joe, I love you. You're always great. Rabbi, you never cease to amaze me. And Father Jim,
to amaze myself, Vince.
Well, that's two of us. Father Jim, it was great meeting you, and I would like to actually have you and Sandy back, maybe on different shows. But and one of the things that I got from the whole conversation is something that I grew up and two very wise men said. The first wise man, he says, war is not the answer. For only love can conquer hate. And maybe we do need a little more love. But another wise man also said, bad things happen when good men allow it. And there's goodness in everyone that don't want to see bad things happen to others. Because if they can happen to others, they can happen to us. Let's give that some consideration. God bless everyone. Thank you for watching our show. I've been looking so forward to this. I will see you Monday, where we'll be talking about money matters. So it's Money Monday with some financial planners to find out what a lot of Black people consider wealth. I'm Vincent Squire.
Vince, I don't need a ride. I need ammunition. Don't forget that.
great.
Well, right now I need a workable mute button. So good.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not when I'm on it, sir. Not on my watch.
Thank you. God bless everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it.
Guys, thank you.
Father, don't ever cross me. Don't ever
National
cross me.